Regarded as one of the foremost figures in Sri Lanka's advertising industry, she turned adversity into triumph, making her way up from the bottom and mastering her craft as she rose. Known as much for her creative vision as she is for her business acumen, she is one of the few professionals to see a career of inexorable rise. With perfectionism and determination, coupled with drive and sensibility, she saw her company become the only advertising company to be named a Lanka superbrand. Being intensely artistic and creative, she is also responsible for taking advertising in Sri Lanka to places it had not been before. ETV Power Women proudly presents Lilamani Benson. Hi and welcome to ETV Power Women. Now today we have a very special guest with us. She's no stranger to the public. She is the head of one of the island's premier advertising agencies, known not only for its innovation but for the countless awards that it's won as well. I'd like to welcome to the show Lilamani Benson. Hi Lilamani.
Hi Minoli.
And welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Lovely to be here with you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being here. I've got to start off actually by asking you, what is this advertising all about? What is it? I mean, how would you define it? It's taken up a large part of your life.
Yes, all my working life actually. Well, you know, advertising is the show business of business.
Right, okay. Well, that's a nice way of...
Some people actually say that it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
Would you agree?
Well, you know, it attracts so many lively, talented people, you know, the thoughtful and the quirky, the poets as well as the pragmatists, if you like. And it nurtures the mavericks.
Yeah.
So when you get this mix and this collision of people of diverse talents, inevitably it's going to be demanding and challenging and stimulating and fun.
Yeah, all at the same time.
And if it isn't fun, then you know, you're not really
Doing
going to be
right.
able to connect with people because it's about life. It's really about life. However, seriously, of course, one has to also then be able to define it a little bit. It is very simply the bridge between the guy who makes something and the guy who buys that something, you know, the bridge between the manufacturer and the consumer, if you like. But most powerfully, advertising is about building brands.
Right.
And people don't buy products, they buy brands.
Okay.
Because people invest brands with values far, far greater and higher than just the ordinary purpose of the brand, you know. So advertising is really about building brands, and that is its most unique aspect
of it. Well, you've sort of put it in a fabulous sort of way, so I guess we now know why you are where you are today.
Yes, I have enjoyed the ride. I still am actually. Yes.
Which is great. And Lilamani, how did you get into this? I know you must have been asked this several hundreds of times before. But
well, you know, as a kid, I was, believe it or not, a quiet, introspective, introverted little kid living in a world of her own, in her world of imagination, of her own imagination, you know.
Yeah.
From a very early age, however, I used to write poetry, I used to paint.
Wow.
I used to send my poems at 8 years old to the newspaper, you know, to the Auntie Pam column or whatever it was called at that time, and get them published as well. And even when I got into school, I used to kind of win prizes for art and for English lit, and those were the things I enjoyed doing very much, and kind of led me to reading English lit at university level.
Right.
And then, of course, I flirted with journalism a little bit, but to some extent it was too one-dimensional for me, because you know, these concepts and these visuals were jumping out of my head all the time. So I had to find a way to not only have the words part of it, and I was good with words, you know. I had this book called Tales the Letters Tell, and Songs the Letters Sing when I was a little child, and I used to think that's what words have got to be, you know. So the writer in me had all kinds of outlets, but the visual sense also I needed to explore, I needed to give expression to, and which I think kind of kind of, and then I trained as a writer, and then I kind of gradually, either I drifted into advertising, or advertising kind of got into me. So I found myself
through that
in an ad agency and thrived. You know, once I got in there, it felt like I was a
home.
natural.
This is it.
Yes, this is it. And I did everything. I used to be in account management, but I used to do everything. I used to write ads, and I used to visualize, and I used to jump into the into the media department, and into the radio department, and so on. And then TV arrived in the country in the 80s, and nobody knew what to do with TV, how to use this medium. And at that time, I was handling two very interesting accounts. One was the Nestle business, which allowed me to understand people and brands and the professional side of how to connect brands and people, and give me empathy for the discipline of advertising. And then I also was handling British Airways, which allowed me to travel as well. You know, apart from being exciting and working with international resources, it also allowed me to travel. So what I did was, I decided that, with the blessings of my boss at that time, when I finished the conference I went to or whatever, I linked up with the ad agency with whom we used to work, and got them to help me, to introduce me to production houses and so on, and started studying the craft of filmmaking and of communication for TV.
Wow.
Which was very special and opened all kinds of doors. I was the first person to bring in crews from outside
to Sri Lanka.
And introduce
them. That was a little bit controversial, wasn't it?
Very controversial. I got hauled about, all kinds of letters went back and forth.
Oh, really?
Yes. And at one stage,
did you have to explain yourself?
Very much so. Became very political, and I had to go. I was summoned to the BOI, and I said, look, this is, I'm opening windows, and this is the medium we have. We don't know what to do, and I'm opening windows. And whenever such a team comes in, I have all of the people here who are involved in the film industry and want to get into also into the TV industry, coming in and saying, can we please come
and learn from this
and learn from it. And I explained this all finally also in a letter, and they said, wonderful, go do it. God bless you. So I won the day, you know. Anyway, at that stage, I was kind of headhunted for by the Walter Thompson company to I didn't know it at that time. The first job I had was creative director, but they had earmarked me to be the first Sri Lankan head of the unit.
Wow.
So that was a good step. You know, it gave me a lot of scope, because I was able to bring my personality and values a little more into the business that I so loved, you know. And then much later, of course, I was also headhunted by Lintas Worldwide.
Right. Okay,
and asked to set up a business for them in Sri Lanka. And perhaps the difference between, you know, I didn't inherit a business that was ready-made and you could walk in and add value to. I had to grow a business from the ground up, which is much more challenging, much more stimulating,
much more rewarding as well.
Much more rewarding, much harder to do. You have to almost reinvent yourself and invent a value that isn't there, you know. But of course, I had a partner in Lintas Worldwide. And there were some aligned businesses we kicked off with, which was great. But then you had to, you know, grow from there.
And it must have just been such an affirmation that, you know, that you've been chosen to do this. And as you say, in a field that you love. Because even just hearing you talk about it now, there's so much passion behind what you're saying.
Funny that you should say that. Red was our corporate color. Everybody in Lintas, even now, sits on a red chair.
Oh, really?
It's the hot seat of passion. And passion was the watchword, you know. That was our second name, if you like. And the pursuit of excellence is whatever you do, do excellently. And whatever you are good at doing, bring all the passion that you have into it, and you have to get something right at that point, you know. We were just 12 people when we started, but we acted like we were, we adopted a kind of leadership stance from the word go, and we were pitching for businesses with agencies that had 150 people in them, you know, and we were winning some of the pitches, which was a wonderful feeling. Because we were fresh and passionate and we knew what we were doing. And if there were youngsters, they were also learning from the ones who had some of the experience and so on.
Do you think that, because since you sort of, as you said, you started and worked your way up and you've been in all the different departments, it's really kind of given you a well sort of rounded approach to how everything works. I mean, would you say that that would be the way to start if you wanted to kind of get into something and one day with the view of taking it on and heading it yourself? Do you think it's important to learn
to be a well-rounded person?
Or to learn every aspect of how that business works from the bottom up, rather than just
I think it helps. It helps
something?
that you're an experienced person. It helps that nobody can pull wool over your eyes, and nobody can tell you it can't be done, because you know damn well it can be done. You also know how to do it. You can even tell them, you know, I wasn't born yesterday. You know,
I've done this before.
I've done that. I've been there. I know it's not easy, and so on. However, I think it's not necessary to have all the skills. Nobody has all the skills. And the important thing is that you surround yourself with the best people.
Right.
When I look for people who are better than me.
Right.
I always tell
Must be quite
myself,
hard.
no mediocrities. Mediocrity breeds mediocrity. So I'm not afraid of a talent that is
greater than yours,
more fresh or more exciting than my own, because I think that's the guy or the girl that I want. She would come. So I think you need to surround yourself with the best talent available for whatever skill you need to. Of course, it helps if you have 2 or 3 different skills, because when you're starting out, you duplicate skills anyway. You know, you can't have people to do one person to play each role. Helps, but it's not necessary. You just have to have the right attitudes and the right mentality, and never fear hiring someone who is a startling
who's
talent.
better than you. Right, well, I'm going to come back to that question, Lilamani, because we're taking a little break. But don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with more from the lovely Lilamani Benson. See you after the break. Hi, and welcome back to ETV Power Women. We're here having a chat with Lilamani Benson. We've been actually just talking about how you got into the world of advertising and what it really means to you. And one thing I did want to ask you actually before we had to go into a break was, what was it like when you first got into advertising as a woman? I mean, did you feel that you had to work harder or prove that you were more capable than the men or better than the men? Was there anything like that?
Oh, Minoli, you've got to be 5 times better than a guy to earn half the money. That's the famous adage, isn't it? That's what they say. Actually, you have to be better, I think, in order to make it. I think it's not so bad in advertising at the mid-levels, you know.
Right.
I think there is a place for women, and they have more empathy, perhaps, and they're more diligent. So there are those general rules about how girls approach their jobs. So inevitably, at certain middle levels, you're okay. But as you go higher, then you've got to watch it. You really got to prove that you're more capable, much more capable.
Right.
And if you look around today, there aren't too many women actually heading ad agencies.
I was actually going to...
Apart from those who inherited their ad agencies, you know, there aren't professional unit heads who are women. Lots of men, but
no women.
The women are the ones who inherited it. So that says something. However, I think, yes, you have to work much harder. You have to prove yourself. But once you pass a certain threshold and proved yourself, it becomes easier, and you know, you find that you do get the chances and so on.
Lilamani, do you have like a motto or a personal philosophy that you kind of try and live by?
I think the pursuit of excellence. I think the word passion. I think you have to find the things that you are good at and turn those into career opportunities. Because if you go into your workplace thinking, enjoying what you do, there's going to be a spring in your step, and fire in your belly, isn't it?
You're going to want to be there.
You've got to want to be there. If you're just going, oh, ho hum, another day, oh God, I got to go to work.
When's payday?
You know, if you're working like that, it's all a drudgery.
It's all over.
So find the thing that you like to do, and then study like hell, and never give up. Don't settle for less. You can't cruise on native intelligence. You have got to study it and sharpen the craft. It was like, you know, it was like finding the film avenue and saying, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go learn this. Today, too many people just go on native intelligence and they cruise. You know, I know it all. You know, I'm good, so I'll just sit here.
I'll get by, you know.
That's not good enough. So what I would say is that, you know, go and push for excellence. The pursuit of excellence should be what every person's life should be, whether you're working or whether you're bringing up a family or whether you're doing social work or whether you're going and changing the world or whether you're doing climate change or whatever it is that you're working on.
Just be your best.
It should be the best. Also for women, something that I would say for women is that go and get, nobody owes you anything.
Yeah.
Nobody owes you a living. Just because you're a woman, you don't have to have a man to owe you a livelihood. Become financially independent if you possibly can, because that makes all the difference in the world. The choices that you make, in the way you conduct your life and the way you are able to deliver and enjoy and you know,
that's so true.
Live.
The more independent you are,
the
easier it is really to live your life.
Yes.
And unfortunately, you find so many women here not willing to take that step of being independent, or they feel that they will always be tied down to something.
It's amazing, you know. I work with a social service group now, and formally do social service, because I believe I need to do that as well. And and status of women is one of the mottos of this organization. And it is amazing that too many women actually keep their girl children down. You know,
we propagate this sort of.
We totally propagate the whole mindset.
Absolutely.
Too many employers keep the women. They won't hire a girl of childbearing age because you know she's going to have a baby and she's going to run off and have kids. So you know, why would I give her the place? I'll give it 2 guys, everything being equal, I'll give it to the guy instead. Yeah,
which is, you know.
So women themselves have to look hard at them, if they're employers, if they're mothers, if they're sisters, whatever role you play, so that you can engage.
But Lilamani, tell me a little bit more about your childhood and growing up.
My mother's family are the Delano Rolls. Okay. And the Delano Rolls are academics, teachers. Right. So they're very cerebral. They come, so I was always born to this thing of, you know, they placed a high value on education and on learning and on living a life which had, you know, had values in it. Right. So I think that came through very well. And that meant that, you know, you were brought up to think in a particular way and act in a particular way, which, you know, always stands in good stead, isn't it? Yes. So, and when one had one's own children, then you kind of try to bring values as being the first thing and the most important thing that you can give them, isn't it?
Because you have 4 children. That's right, and 2 boys and 2 girls.
That's right.
Okay, and that must have been incredible being a working mother and having these 4 children.
Yes.
It just must have been, you know, quite...
Huge challenge. I was also by and large a single mother. Right. And I had this very demanding career because advertising is... There's
24 hours.
You've got to live it, you know, you've got to live and breathe it. You've got to absorb it into your skin almost. Because you just can't put it away. You can't put it away. Yeah. So yes, the demands on one's time is huge. And you have to work hard to be there for the most important moments in your children's life. In fact, I'll tell you a little story where my oldest son must have been, say, 10 years old, and he was being obstreperous, and I said, "You're never there when I need you." And he turned around and he said, "You are never there when I need you." Ooh, that really went home, you know. I had no answer for him. So I had to juggle very hard to be there for the important moments of their lives. But I always felt that I was a more interesting mother, being a career woman. Yeah. And being in a field that was as dynamic as advertising, I brought it home and the children enjoyed it. To this day, they write slogans. Oh my goodness. And they used to always write slogans themselves. Oh really? In fact, after one trip, I used to call them when I got cross with them, "You guys are the world's worst horrors," I used to say. And after one trip overseas, I came back to a house that had span, floor polished, and this huge big card that they had done like this, you know, with this advertising background that they were getting, big card. And when you flipped it open, "Welcome home," no, on the top it said, "Welcome home from the world's worst horrors." So I felt always that I was a more interesting mother. Quality of the time I spent with them, I watched so carefully. Yeah. And I think they had a lot of fun because I brought home all the things that we used to do. Yeah. So, and it was always lively at home. Yeah. So I think while there were, of course, the difficult aspects of managing your time and all that, I think a career woman has some advantages as well. Yes. Growing up with mother, I think must have been fun for them, although we had our moments, you know.
Who doesn't? Yes. Right, on that note, unfortunately, we're going to take another little break. But don't go anywhere because we'll be back with more from Lilamani Benson.